up, y'all? Welcome to Westside Level. I'm your host, the Mac Daddy, the Daddy Mac, Young Rick. And if you made it this far, shout out to you. A lot of people wouldn't have even made it this far. But today we're about to get into how to do serial compression. And today's weapon of choice is going to be the Waves CLA two-way compressor. Let's actually review what we did before. We added some compression with our CLA 1176. And what that compression did is just to review our effect and why we added compression and why compression is considered an enhancement to vocals is because it added thickness to our vocals. Now, what is thickness? If you remember, there's some words that are being mumbled at lower decimals, maybe 24 decimals, that really can't be heard, but then there's other words peaking all the way at 18 decimals. That makes it extremely hard for the listener to actually pick out every word that the artist is actually trying to say. So what compressors do is they control those higher peaks, and to simplify it and really just give it all one word, I simplified into a word as thickness. It thickens up the vocal. The effect is just making the vocal more legible. But it, like I said, this compressor gave us a lot more things, and if you want to know about that, you're going to have to go back into that tutorial on advanced compression on lead vocals. But I just wanted to review that. And then also, before we get into it, now that I kind of explained that, I want you to go ahead and listen back to it. So this is before we added our 1176.
Rick on them keys and them kicks. Don't throw that pass, it's getting picked off. I ain't tryna buy a deuce with the brick course. I'm in this Benz acting up, I know they pissed off. I told Rick, drop a beat, I'm finna shit talk.
Okay, now I'm going to add the 1176 compressor back in, and I need you to tell me if you can hear the vocal more, if the vocal becomes more legible to you, if the vocal becomes more thick to you.
Rick on them keys and them kicks. Don't throw that pass, it's getting picked off. I ain't tryna buy a deuce with the brick course. I'm in this Benz acting up, I know they pissed off. I told Rick, drop a beat, I'm finna shit talk. Big dog, don't throw that pass, it's getting picked off. I ain't tryna buy a deuce with the brick course.
Me hearing from my ears, the vocal became a lot more legible. That 1176 did a lot of our heavy lifting. So now that we had one compressor doing our heavy lifting, the technique I want to introduce you today is called serial compression. Two compressors to achieve a mixing goal. And our mixing goal today is, again, we're adding thickness to our vocals. Even though our 1176 gave us a lot of thickness, we're going to really maximize it with this CLA two-way compressor by Waves. Now, the first thing I want to identify when we're dealing with the compressor is, that I want to point out, is that we have our analog emulation on. So I want our analog to be emulation to be on, so we can get all the distortion and saturation, and it can operate as if it was actually a hardware compressor. So that's one thing I wanted to point out. Now that I have that point out, the first knob I'm going to turn my attention to is this compress and limit section right here. Now, the compressed section is pretty self-explanatory, but what I want to talk about is this limit section, because this is the way we're going to use the compressor. Now, this limiter on this CLA 2A is not a brick wall limiter, 18 decimals, even though we have it knocking down 1 decimal. This is actually going to operate more like a soft clipper rather than a brick wall limiter, because a brick wall limiter, remember, a brick wall limiter just chops off the peaks. It does not let a signal pass a certain level. Whereas, and as a byproduct, if you limit too much, I just want to point this out, it can add some distortion, maybe sometimes some unwanted distortion. Now, what this plugin is doing is operating more like a soft clipper when we put it in limit mode. What is the difference between a soft clipper and a limiter? A soft clipper Remember, a brick wall limiter is going to chop off, its main job is to chop off peaks, and as a byproduct, it adds some distortion. A clipper is the opposite. Its main purpose is to actually distort the signal, and as a byproduct, it's going to do some brick wall limiting. So with that being noted, I'm going to trigger this CLA compressor. Instead of having it in compress mode, I'm going to go ahead and turn it into a limiter right now. All right, now that I have this in limit mode, I'm not going to touch any of our knobs yet. I'm just going to press play, running our signal through the CLA two-way compressor. Let's go ahead and do that.
Big dog, don't throw that pass, it's getting picked off. I ain't tryna buy a deuce with the brick cost. I'm in this Benz acting up, I know they pissed off. I told Rick, drop a beat, I'm finna shit talk. Big dog.
Okay, the most obvious effect that jumped out of me from this compressor is that it definitely added level to our signal. So we're gonna have to gain match that back down. But other than that, I could hear tone. So I'm hearing some distortion that's coming out of this box, this unit. So we're going to keep that in mind, and then we're going to go ahead and turn our attention to this to this peak reduction meter, this peak reduction knob, I'm sorry. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to go ahead and get about 1 decimals of peak reduction.
Big dog, don't throw that pass, it's kicking up, I know they pissed off. I told Rick, drop a beat, I'm finna shit talk.
All right, perfect. So now I have our CLA in limit mode, and we're knocking down about 1 decimals of gain reduction using our peak reduction knob. Now you'll notice on the CLA compressor that there is no attack and there is no release knob. This the attack, release, and there's also no ratio knob. All of these are program dependent, meaning that the attack, ratio, and release are going to be based off how hard you drive your peak reduction and the signal that's actually going into the unit. So now that we've added 1 decimal of gain reduction to our signal, let's go ahead and mute the compressor so we can see what level our signal was originally at.
I ain't tryna buy a deuce with the brick cost. I'm in this Benz acting up.
All right, so now I can see we're peaking at about 18 decimals. So I'm going to turn my attention towards this gain knob on our CLA 2A, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it down to. All right, so now I have our compressor level matched. We're going to go ahead and do an A and B of our signal and see what adding our serial compression and our second compressor has done to the vocal. And remember, let's keep our goal in mind. Our goal is to make our vocal more legible, more thick, making it easier to hear, but keeping the level that it peaks at the same. So here's without the CLA compressor.
Big dog, don't throw that pass, it's getting picked off. I ain't tryna buy a deuce with the brick cost. I'm in this Benz acting up, I know they pissed off. I told Rick, drop a beat, I'm finna shit talk.
Here's with our CLA 2A compressor.
Rick on them keys and them kicks. Don't throw that pass, it's getting picked off. I ain't tryna buy a deuce with the brick cost. I'm in this Benz acting up, I know they pissed off. I told Rick, drop a beat, I'm finna shit talk. Big dog, don't throw that pass, it's getting picked off. I ain't tryna buy a deuce with the brick cost. I'm in this Benz acting up, I know they pissed off. I told Rick, drop a beat, I'm finna shit talk.
And like always, I'm gonna now jump the compressor in and out. Here's without.
I'm in this Benz acting up, I know they pissed off. I told Rick, drop a beat, I'm finna shit talk. Rick on them keys and them kicks. Don't throw that pass, it's getting picked off. I ain't tryna buy a deuce with the brick cost. I'm in this Benz.
All right. And that was our effect for today. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this compressor engaged because it definitely added thickness to our vocals, and it added it made the hook of our vocals now a lot more legible. So now that we finished now that we finished compression, in our next episode, we're going to go ahead and get into some color EQ. So thank you for tuning in. If y'all fuck with this, if you're becoming more of an expert engineer, go ahead, rock with me, give me a like, subscribe. Y'all be smooth. Gone.